So for us, it was grassroots, and some more grassroots. And it was more important for us to attend all the local networking meetings and groups and Chamber of Commerce events, Pasco County events, whatever was out there. We wanted people to start hearing and knowing our name so that they got, oh, okay, I'm kind of familiar now. I kind of have seen you before. And at that point, once we get the doors open, we opened with 31% occupancy,
About right.
which
About right.
is pretty good for a commercial building without having any major tenants.
What's up, guys? In today's episode, we continue our conversation with Four & Co., a co-working space business outside of Tampa Bay, and it all started from a family business. In our last episode, we talked about how they first began their idea and launched it, and in this episode, we talk about how they really had success with it and why they had success with it. Check it out. What would you be your advice to someone who's wanting to start something along the lines the way of you did, so starting a family business, and then two, doing something you've technically never done before. You've never built a commercial building before, and I know that you guys went through some heartache with it.
Oh yeah,
but
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the story, right? It's part of the
Yeah.
journey. What would you say to somebody who's kind of starting that, and maybe some advice that you would give them?
go to family therapy first.
Yep.
Make sure you're all really grounded and you know the ground rules of what this is all going to be like.
Work out whatever past stuff you haven't worked through and anything like that, because in a family business, whatever issues you have with maybe a coworker you had in the past is not your family and it was bad, times it by 10, because it's no longer just now work. You find other reasons and other personal reasons and whatever stuff that is in
it
the
all gets
closet
lumped
that
together.
hasn't been discussed or whatever, that stuff piles on as well. So, but I implore everybody, I actually implore everybody to work with at least one family member in your life at some point. Do it. I think it is the most lesson-filled, rewarding thing you could do at any point, just because the amount of how close.
Oh, he really does love me.
There's two other members in the family. Relax.
Yeah. I was just saying, you may not be talking about it.
I was hoping.
No, but I would definitely, implore people to do it, because it's something most people have done since the beginning of time. I mean, most people have had to work with their family at some point on one level or another, and
It's true. In the last 100 years or so, it's changed, but yeah.
and it's I'm not saying take over the family business. I mean, if that's the opportunity in front of you, I mean, do it, and see if it works for you. But at the same time, don't ever shy away from it. And that's what I'd really tell people. Don't shy away from the opportunity to do it, because you have the opportunity to strengthen your relationship and your bond with that person in that family or the family in general, and the
Have
power.
very distinct roles, though, of what you do.
The power it
And
can
go
bring.
into it with the idea that you are trying to provide them value, not I get a sweet gig
Yeah.
because
Right.
this one's got a business, this one can
Yeah.
give me this job, blah blah blah, because
Exactly.
I'm a family member. You go into it unselfishly, then I do believe that could be a huge blessing.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, to your other point too, is I always tell people, in my very green career experience of only being 27, the biggest thing anybody can do going into trying to start their own business or go into a role or anything is find a solution. Find a problem and find a solution to it. And just do that, rinse and repeat. Whatever you do, no matter how you do it, if there's a solution, find a problem, find the solution. That's where the value lies. Value lies in the solution, right? There's no value in going to the dollar store and buying a sticky hand. What value does that bring, right? I mean, it may be valued at some point, but
Scratch
what
my
I'm
back with it.
saying is don't be engulfed with things that aren't value driven, because if you provide value, everything else comes, right? Networking comes, money comes, opportunities come, right? And you'll know it was not going to be a slow drip type thing. If you're providing a solution and you're clogging a hole in society or an industry or whatever, you will get rewarded for that very quickly.
Yeah.
And it goes to show how valuable your solution is how quickly you get rewarded for or any kind of opportunity for that. So that's my biggest two big things to those questions is work with your family once in your life at some point, whether it's a cousin, brother, parent, and find a solution, and you'll be golden.
So to piggyback off of that, why did you guys decide we need to invest into some media and use media for some marketing? So, for example, you guys do a podcast yourselves. Tell me about the format of that podcast and what you do with that podcast.
So our podcast that we started was something that we always had a feeling that we wanted to discuss what we do and do that with other people, particularly to bring out what they do and how they came to be so that we could share the value with an audience, with others out there of you can do this. It doesn't matter if you're 82 years old or you're 18 and you have an idea or a dream that you'd always like to try something, but you just didn't have the courage to. You can do it. You really can. Like Pierre said, if you have a problem and you have an answer to that problem, why not?
And
no one else is doing it, so try it.
And we hated hiring a person for blog posts. It was the biggest, like, when you really broke down, like, what are we paying for when we're paying for somebody to write a blog post? And then you have ChatGPT that rolls out a year or two later. You're like, I could literally just automate this thing to write a blog post on a topic I give it at random, and then just post that to our website. But yet nobody reads blog posts unless you're Google searching something.
Well, and we are not media experts. Rami is a graphics person. Rami does graphics really well. He is not someone, and he is our creative, but he would be the closest thing we would have to doing that. And it's not our forte. It's not what we do best. So why not hire experts and people that know how to do this better? Of course, we're going to hire Paper Jacket to do that because you guys know how to do it. I mean, we first time we ever met you guys was at our building Clearwater. Your client was in our building as a member there, and you guys came in to film, and you came in with all your gear and your bags, and you were really professional, and you're setting your shots up, you're setting your cameras up, and we're all looking at each other like, wow, they know what they're doing. We had no idea about any of this stuff, right? I'm like, we gotta remember them. We might need them one day. And you came in, and every time we saw you, same thing, and you did it exactly well. And then you saw the finished product. We'd watch our members' videos and various and sundry things that they put out there and went, this is really cool. It's fun. It's light. It's got a sense of humor to it. It's produced well. And it just made sense. So we naturally said Paper Jacket's where we're going to go when we're ready and it's time. So like I said, Rami does all the graphics and he could do that very well, but we do not do the rest of it at all. And why wouldn't you do and hire professionals? Some people like to do that and they'll do it on their cell phone. And, you know, I watch people in various formats and you see the finished product. And I think that's a great enhancement, but I don't think that should ever be your main part of your advertising and your marketing. I think there needs to be a professional element in there that they see it from a different perspective than you do. Is if I'm putting content out, my perspective is my perspective. And I may not be looking at it from Jeremy's lens or Pierre's lens or XYZ person's lens. I'm just seeing it from mine. And that's not always healthy in a business. You need to see it from all different angles to see how you're coming out and how you're coming across. You might be hindering yourself and not even realizing it.
And
Well, one sec. You. Here's the thing, though. I'm curious about. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. You never really hired a media company to help you with your business for 30 years.
No.
Why did you feel like it was necessary now to hire a media company?
I didn't want to be known in my travel business.
Okay.
That was on purpose. I wanted
Sure.
an unlisted number. I did not want people to know us, period.
I understand.
And that came from a lot of just when you end up working corporate travel, you have a lot of CEOs and execs that then your name gets passed around and then you start becoming everybody's.
We had more than
Travel
enough
agent.
business from referrals.
Yeah.
We were 100% referral-based business.
Yeah.
And that God blessed us and did very well for us that way. But it's unusual.
And
It's not necessarily at all what most travel agencies do or have stayed in business. They had to advertise. We were very fortunate that we did a good job, and I'll give us credit. We did a very good job for our clients, and they were that happy that, yeah, how I got into the movie industry was I had a client who was a physician, and he was stuck in Aspen Airport, and he was sitting next to someone, and he calls me up. He says, hey, it's plane stuck, it's snowing, can't get out. I'm like, all right. So I look around and I see I can get him out of Vail Airport, Eagle, and I can get them a transfer. All right, don't worry. Right, flight's in 3 hours. You'll be out of there. I've got the driver will be coming to pick you up. You have checked bags. No, I've got just carry on today. I'm like, okay, great. Hangs up, and he's good. Calls me back 5-10 minutes later. He says, hey, I got someone else that needs some help. He's sitting next to me. Could you help him out? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I talked to the gentleman, and he and his wife to get back to LA. I'm like, okay, let me see. Similar. I got him out of Eagle Airport and could get him on the same ride with my client, and I helped him out. End of story. Never thought anything else about it. A week later, I get a phone call, and the gentleman I had helped calls me and says, hey, do you do corporate travel? I'm like, yeah, I do corporate travel. It's basically what I do all the time. He says, well, do you know how to do groups and stuff? I'm like, yes, very much so. That's main part of what I do. Mm-hmm. And he says, oh, okay, good. So do you have a team? I'm like, yeah, we have a full team, and we got people to help out here. And I can always call extra reserves if I need to. What are we talking about? Because, I dealt with like small 3-person team up to 900 people with a bank going to Vegas for annual convention type thing. Mm-hmm. So that was normal in my world. So I knew when I had large groups, I needed to call some reserves in on those kind of times. And he's like, well, I've got, and he didn't want to tell me what he did. So I went, okay, what's going on here? You kind of hesitate for a second because now you're like, what am I getting into?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then I decided, all right, it's time to look his name up and see who he is. Well, I found out he's an executive producer, and I went, okay, do I want to do this or not?
Yeah.
Because my first thought is I know this industry. I know a little bit about it, and I know what it can be like. And I wasn't sure I wanted to take that on at that moment in time. I still had kids that were growing up. They were, like little at that point. And I reluctantly said, okay, I'll be happy to help you. So I started, and that was that. I worked with him, and our team worked with their team. And we started with him, and then he referred me to another producer, and I wound up doing like 4 production companies at the same time. But it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It really is, because it's 24/7. When they're on location and we're prepping for a shoot, it's 2 weeks before you have the executives come in. They do the groundwork, they get things set up, and then next 6 weeks is the rest of the crew coming and going. So they try to shoot in 2 months or less, so usually 6 weeks. Then you have the celebs come in for 2 to 3 weeks time periods because they're contracts that are all SAG, and there's union rules and stuff you have to follow. And if I have this celebrity and they say, well, I have my hairstylist coming with me, I fly first, my hairstylist flies business, and my personal trainer has to come and they fly business too. Okay, well, you can't bend from those things. They must and always have to do exactly what their contracts say they can do. So we had to make sure we're doing what's appropriate. Well, that goes down to, well, they only drink Grey Goose, or they only drink Evian water, or whatever, right? So I'd have to.
You're stressing me out right now.
Oh, that was everyday life.
This sounds like the worst job ever. Respectfully.
Yeah. There were a lot of details. There was a lot of logistics that went with it. So I'd have to go to the hotels and go, okay, I need Evian water, I need Grey Goose, I need cranberry juice, I need, and I need no feather pillows, I need, nothing but white sheets. Whatever the demands are, it didn't matter. This is what has to happen. And
goodness gracious.
Yeah, this is
but
fun.
Back to your point about why we need video and media. For me personally, it was the time. The amount of time and that it goes into a shoot to come up with an idea, to get to production date, to set up for production, to then now do production, then to now do post, right? And for us, I'm very much of a proponent of time is money and money is time. Like it is, like if you're not saving money, you're saving time, and if you're not saving neither, you're just doing something pointless. Like, so for me, what you guys offer of this ability for us to just walk into our podcast and just not have to worry about setup, mics, anything like that, it is, for me, makes something that I kind of dreaded because of the work that I would have to go into it, because we're very DIY people, that just walking into it has just been absolutely like refreshing. And I look forward to our podcast days, honestly, because it's just, it's a nice break from work, and I get to shoot the shit a little bit,
sure,
for the most part, and
have some nice whiskey.
That's
whiskey.
right. Get treated like a celeb for a
Yeah.
few
Well, I
minutes.
think one of your first podcasts, like I walked in and because from a previous party that you had a beer tap, you just walked in with this huge beer and just sat down. I'm like, I wish I was doing a podcast today. So, with it being kind of mom and son at the moment,
Mhm.
I mean, so that makes sense why you didn't do marketing as much with the previous business.
I
You got a
didn't
really
need
big
it,
client.
yeah.
It was like, but going into this, with the way the world has changed in media and stuff like that, how did both of y'all, because I'm sure you both came from different perspectives on, we know we need to make media for exposure, so on and so forth. Like, but I'm curious of your two different thoughts of why media was important for Co, for this co-working space.
Media was important more so after the doors open than before the doors open. And that's kind of counterintuitive, you would think. But for us, it was our idea is grassroots. You have to hit the grassroots first and let people know you're here or you're coming. Otherwise, they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, we already had a hard time explaining what we do, what our industry is. They don't understand it when you say, and if you're in a cocktail party and you're talking to someone, you say co-working, or like, they kind of look at you like they don't really kind of get that.
Their point of reference is like an amenity at an apartment building or or a hotel or WeWork. Like those are their reference points, and they're kind of like they're gonna just like shrug it off of just like, oh, okay. And it's not about whether it being a status thing. It's kind of like when somebody says like, I'm a nautical engineer. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly? Yeah. So for us, it was grassroots, and some more grassroots. And how we did that, we went to the Bexley Clubhouse. We asked them if we could host a seminar once a month, and then we stepped it up as we got more construction done. Then we went and did multiple community markets, and we'd have a tent, like with all of the people doing the little wares and food and things like that. We were there with our tent and talking about co-working, and people are like, "What's that?" So we'd talk them through it, and they're like, "Oh, actually, I might need that. Okay, save your card, or I'll give you a call." And it was more important for us to attend all the local networking meetings and groups and Chamber of Commerce events, Pasco County events, whatever was out there. We wanted people to start hearing and knowing our name so that they got, oh, okay, I'm kind of familiar now. I kind of have seen you before. And at that point, once we get the doors open, we opened with 31% occupancy.
About right.
Which is pretty good for a commercial building without having any major tenants.
Sure.
And we don't have leases, by the way. We're month to month, as you know. And that is an anomaly in our industry. No one does that. No one does it in commercial real estate, period. Try selling that to the banks. They don't like it.
Yes.
Lots of risk in that.
And then it's kind of like we then thought about, okay, if we have media, what would we post? Just repetitive pictures of an office or a common space area or inspirational quotes. Like, what if we were going to have media? What's the purpose of? What's it going to be? What's the content? What do we need? And we kept just like muddling in circles. We're like, we don't need to be like coming up with ideas. Like, we need to be working on the business rather than being like the marketing people, because like.
Well, let me pull back for a second though. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But why was media important? Why were you like? Why not continue doing grassroots? Why was media the next step in the marketing strategy for you guys? And what has it done?
It's, for us, it was basically, it fed into the grassroots, because it almost felt like if we didn't have the social media, we were some sketchy group of people that just like were like, come to our business. We have something for you.
It give you establish your brand. Really.
Yeah, it definitely like followed, it fully fleshed out the brand in a way, and it allows us to have a platform to announce things, to do things. And with everything that we've been wanting to do and have been doing, it's been definitely a really, really amazing for us. Like, we just released our bidet skit, and I've been getting texts for the last like
Jeremy for creative genius
3-4 days of people telling me how funny it is, right? And it's just been, you don't see any other co-working spaces like doing comedy skits, because like a lot of them just they don't have that angle. They're very buttoned up, very professional, very much like
very corporate.
Yeah, very corporate, exactly. And having you guys has just been absolutely just breath of fresh air, and completely like changes like my take on like what social media advertising should be. And it's like, I think, and for me, like, I've always loved comedy, but like the idea of using comedy as like advertisement is like, it's literally like, duh, no, of course, dummy. Like that, you make people laugh, they're going to they want more dopamine, right?
Yeah.
So I think as we see the videos come out and the people's responses, it makes more and more sense with every video that we've done. And like, you look at the first video we've done together compared to today, I mean, they have the same message, but they're very different.
Sure.
And I think it's just been absolutely invaluable to be able to have you guys as partners doing that with us. It's just been absolutely a weight off our shoulders that I love not having to think about it. Like, the only thing I have to worry about is like getting the Dropbox link and posting it, and that's it. That's literally it. And it's just been I can't put into words like how much time, money, effort.
I know we're different than most companies. We're definitely different than other co-working companies in that we don't approach things the same angle and the same thought process. And that's all of us. It's not just one of us. There is a reason and a method for it. And yes, we are growing a brand. We're not just starting and it's going to one and done type of thing. You mentioned we had some challenges, and we certainly have, and it kind of put us behind the 8 ball, unanticipated for us. But we've been working through those things, and it has had to do with financial and a lender not doing what they're supposed to do. And we've had to front and do things on our own and manage to get through it. We're involved in litigation, and we're getting through that, but we're finally getting to the point where we get to show the offensive side rather than the defensive side of things. Which, when things get settled, at one day we'll have another podcast and we'll talk about that. But in the interim, we have, I want to say, gone sideways maybe with marketing, simply because we wanted to ensure that we could go forward, and we are going to see a future path here with it, with our brand and what we want to do. We can finally say, yes, we are going to have a future path and we are going to move forward, and that's great. But that means we'll step it up again as soon as we can, and things are done legally. But in the interim, we do have visions for more, and as Pierre mentioned, not traditional, not corporate, very, put humor into it. This is real life. Everyone's life is not a corporate world, and we don't want to present ourselves as an entity that doesn't have real people behind them and authentic people. We have our ups and we have our downs just like everyone else. And being a family business probably is on display a little bit more in times than anyone would like to, but it's real. It is what it is. And we want to encourage others that it's part of life. You're going to have business. You're going to have your good moments and your bad moments, and others will see it. And that's absolutely no judgment on it, because there shouldn't be. That's not my right to judge you or you to judge me. We have to accept each other and move on in what we do in our chosen paths. And I think that maybe also plays into the business too. Because we do try to operate that way very honestly, it lets people in the building also do the same thing. And that's why you find more conversations and people interacting with each other, because they don't feel hesitant to. They don't feel like, I don't really want to share anything with so-and-so or say something out loud in the cafe.
Sure.
It's
okay. And like someone else going like, yeah, me too. And now you got a camaraderie, and you've got people going, yeah, I get it. I had a terrible day and I had this happen to me and my client, and it's a good feeling. It's no longer a bad feeling. And you can work through those bad moments with some companionship in it too.
Unless it's about the elevator, coffee machine.
Or the ice maker.
Ice maker. Subject sometimes.
Printer. What else?
Those are the main 4 culprits.
So one of the things I want to champion you guys in is that what you did a good job in is that you engaged first. I think that's where a lot of businesses and brands get it wrong. They want to maybe create media from the very start, haven't done anything. And I mean, doing something is better than doing nothing, but they just expect people to just start engaging with them before they engage with others. And I think you did a good job of grassroots engagement and ultimately finding a way to grow community first, and the media being the other side of that. It just automatically gives you more engagement. It automatically, now when you post, you get more views. When now when you post, you get more engagement. Now when you're doing things, you get more attention. So just whenever you market something, it just becomes easier. And so not to by any means to make it seem like your business is easy, but that's what the whole thing is made for.
Right.
The reason why you hired Paper Jacket was to make the whole media creation easier. The reason why you're making media is to make the communication with your prospects easier, to make sales easier, and so on and so forth. If everything is working to make it easier, that's how it works. Media is just a big part of the puzzle. And I want to champion you guys into doing that, what I think was very well done and a great strategy for that. So I was happy to be a part of that.
Thank you. And we're
Thank
happy
you.
you were too.
And for us, I think also people get stuck in the trap of they use content for lead generation. Well, we weren't making content for lead generation because we knew where our leads were coming from, and that we already built the funnel there.
Yeah.
Right, which was our grassroots and being in the community and having those relationships that are strong. We're making media to add a dimension to us, to add a new ability to. We have multiple dimensions to us, and we're able to show that through media.
And it helps your lead generation of grassroots referrals and being involved in the community. It helps that. It helps generate. It helps put more people into that funnel.
I think that's for people that like they think lead media or content only for lead generation. Like Gary Vee talks about this all the time. Like, don't create content for leads or for sales. Create content to create content. Like.
Create content for engagement.
Yeah, exactly. Like you need content to be able to grow your message, to elaborate your message. Like if everything is an edited snippet of whatever, you kind of lose that authenticity, right? And I think what's awesome about you guys is you're able to bring that authenticity out through scripts, through skits, or stuff like that. And it's been a very fun experience for me. Like as a person that doesn't enjoy it, it's been a very like fun experience. Like
I absolutely wanted to mirror that sentiment the same, but also your creativeness in getting to know your clients well. And I've watched you do this with other clients as well, where you're able to spend some time with them, get to know who they are, what kind of people they are, and what their business is. And then how do you want to project that outward? How do you want others to see that? And maybe I'm not seeing a part of myself, but you are. And you're able to pull that out. You know, this is interesting. This is something people will find have value to it. So you do it in whichever way it seems applicable. In our case, it comes out through humor a lot of times because that we'd prefer that too. And you've noticed that that's how we play off. We get a bit snarky with each other, but you use that in a way that's fun and engaging for the audience. And I've seen that with other members too, where they they need a more professional, polished look because they're not feeling it, but they are very professional and knowledgeable about what they're doing. So you pull that element out of that person or that entity, and it comes out sounding very polished and very professional at the end. So I think that's very well done on your part, is reading the room, so to speak, of your clients and understanding what needs they have. Yeah.
I mean, it really is. What I try to do is just see how do you interact with everybody else. If you're like interacting with by kind of joking around and then all of a sudden turn the camera and you're like Mr. Corporate, I'm like, it's just not going to work.
Right.
Or the other way around, you're kind of just this serious talker and you like turn to me, I like humor, Jeremy, and I'm like, no, you don't. You like watching Seinfeld, fine. You like watching entertaining people. You are not entertaining. You are different. Like let's say the educational, inspirational, or entertaining. So I find your niche there, and your skill level of what you naturally do. And so the whole thing is about being natural. So you guys have made that easy. Well, guys, tomorrow
is a release of Jodyism, so I can't wait.
Oh boy. clip a Jody cuss word right now. Now it's time for Southern Cuss Words with Jody, part of the show where Jody teaches us a not always nice Southern phrase.
Bless your heart.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Exactly.
So it means like you.
Heavens to Betsy, Pierre.
What the Pierre?
Dear Lord.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, and thank you for being an amazing client. I know you guys already drink your whiskey, so I'll just toast to you guys.
Still have some.
You want to refill?
Nope, I'm good. I'm good. Still got to back to work.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening or watching our episode. Hey, if you're interested in what we do with video, photo, and podcast here at Paper Jacket, please go onto our website at paper-jacket.com and check out the things we've made, what we do, and what we could possibly do for your business. Also, if you love this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Paper Jacket podcast so that you can be notified on our next episode, which basically comes out every 2 weeks. We'll see you on the next one.